How are you doing? David W. Williams, also known as the retail trader, right? Happy Saturday. Hope everything's going well for you. Hope you're enjoying some of this weather, enjoying your weekend. And so, what we're going to talk about today is why fathers are important. Do fathers help you earn more money? And what I'm really going to do in this show is try to help you understand the importance of fathers by explaining to you how important my father was in my particular life, right? Not just him, but also my grandfathers, also my uncles. But we're going to really talk about my father. And the reason why is because I think that we're in an era now, we're in a space to where we're low key kind of made to be feeling ashamed that we appreciate fathers, that we value fathers, that we think fathers are important. And we also think that the best case scenario for a child is to have a really good relationship with their father and have their father participate in raising them, right? I would say best case scenario is to have the father in the home, but that may not be the scenario that is at that present time. But I will say that a really good scenario for a child is to have their father really participate in raising them. The reason why I say in the home is because you get day-to-day interaction, but that's not always going to be the case. However, we're currently kind of like now in a space to where we almost have to feel ashamed about saying that, while everybody else can be bold about proclaiming whatever they claim that they're about. And so what I'm going to talk about in this particular video is why I believe fathers are important, but really explain my father's importance to me. So we want to go for big up to all the fathers. We know we're getting ready to go into Father's Day, and just really let fathers understand really how important they are, but not only to their children, but to the rest of the world. Because if we're really going to really start to really get into this, right, a lot of these youth organizations, right, the only reason why they exist is because of fathers, right? They don't exist because other people have decided to make it work. I've been in sports my whole life. Most women's sports would collapse without men participating in women's sports because they may have a daughter or they may have a niece in that particular space. So they become very passionate about it. If they left women's sports on the youth level to women, there would be very little women's sports. And when I say women, I'm talking about girls' sports. We just calling it women's sports in general. If we just left that to women, there'd be very little women's sports. It's men that are holding up a lot of these institutions. And again, because it's been so consistent over these years, it's not appreciated. So that's what we're going to talk about. So really quickly, right before we get up on out of here, we're having our sale on the VIP course for the highest paid part-time job in the world, Options Trading Academy. We call that the highest paid online. Want to really encourage you to look into that. This right now is going to be the lowest price it's ever going to be ever. On July, we're going to raise the price up. That's going to be $5,000. The core course is going to be $2,500. The IPO is going to be around $10K. We're going to finally put our pricing in line with the rest of the market, kind of really based on the value that we brought to the market. And also, we're going to talk about our consistency, right? We've been very, very consistent over the past 5 years. While other people have come and go, while other people have decided to go in different directions, we've been very, very consistent in what we're doing and really helping people find success in the options market, right? So I want to really encourage you to get into that. If that doesn't work for you, we also have some other offers. We got the Trump trade course, right? That's priced at $100. There's a ticker in that particular Trump trade course that ever since I broadcasted this on Erica's channel, really premiered it, that's probably gone up maybe 10, 15% since that time, right? So just if you were to just trade that, you would have already made your money back plus some, just kind of getting tapped into it. Still got the bird flu. There was a story that I'm going to talk about this probably next week, came out of, I believe, Arizona, where they had to kill around 5 million birds because of the bird flu. This is still a live issue. However, the way the media works, they kind of pick and choose what they want to talk about, but this is still a live issue. So the bird flu, how to invest in a new pandemic, those are still available. Links in my descriptions will be in the description of this particular video, but also links will be in the post. So it's really, really easy. All you got to do is go to the community wall, go through the post. You can find the link, or you can link up with Miss Erica Williams. She also has those links on her community wall. There's multiple ways, right, to get access to these particular research reports, right? So let's keep going. So what we're talking about is this particular situation. Are fathers important? Do fathers help you earn more money, right? And I want to kind of talk about what I believe goes on in this world is that most people do not have a foundation. Okay. I believe, and I didn't realize this until I got older, is that we're talking about fathers, but we're talking about family, right? Most people do not have a foundation. And it shows in how they communicate. It shows in how they go about things. It shows in the things that they do. They don't have a foundation. And it's not to talk down on them. It's not to say that I'm better than them. It's to say that here's the issue. If you're trying to teach somebody something, or you're trying to raise them up in something, you can give them 6 or 7, or maybe let's say 10 core principles that they need to adhere to. And you start them off with that. Okay. Well, they always have that to fall back on. Right. So you will introduce them to 10 core principles and say, here's how you should operate. Okay. They could get them and say, hey, I don't want to do them. Right. And go try to do their own thing. But you know what? They always have the 10 core principles to fall back on. Okay. Most people have nothing to fall back on. So what happens is they get older and they realize, okay, these things are missing out of my life. And what they have to do now is they have to try to reinvent the wheel in their family. This is real. And a lot of this people trying to reinvent the wheel in their family is so widespread now that people don't realize that this is really not, this is kind of like low-key abnormal. Right? Because it's easy now to go on the internet with a bunch of other people that are all having to reinvent the wheel. Another thing is lack of exposure from a foundational standpoint. So let me give an example of what I mean. I grew up with my father. My father raised me, right? So I saw my father every day, right? Every day. I saw my father wake up, put on his clothes, go to work, come home. He would cook, right? I saw my father take me to sports events, take me back home to sport events. He would come home, he would cook. In my family, my father cooked the majority of the time. My father was a better cook than my mother. My mother was a way better baker. My father can't bake at all. My mother could really bake, like for real, for real. She could open up a catering business. My father cooked the majority of the time because my father really can cook, right, for real. And one of the reasons why I can outcook most women, right? And so he cooked because he enjoyed cooking. And, you know, people that really understand know that some of the best chefs in the world, but probably the majority of the best chefs in the world are women. They're not men, right? And that's not to be chauvinist, it's just what it is, right? But I saw my father and interacted with my father day in and day out. He picked me up from places. He took me to places, right? He picked me up from school. He took me back home from stuff. I was constantly interacting with him, constantly, right? So I saw him and what he was doing day in and day out. So I understood what a role was for a man in a family, right? So what I didn't have to do is try to figure out on my own how I was supposed to conduct myself. What you have to understand now is that this world now is so distorted that that role that my father played will be considered abnormal to a lot of people because we're in just this much of a distorted world. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? And so it becomes challenging when you was raised with men and men raised you, and then you try to function like that and you're encountering people and they don't know what you're doing because why? That's not their point of reference. What you have to realize is that most people do not have a foundation. They don't. It's not something that they saw day in and day out, right? So that's what you have to understand, okay? So once you have the foundation, you always have something to go back to. But if you don't have the foundation, you don't have anything to go back to, right? And so I think that's what's challenging for a lot of people. Okay, so let's keep going, right? So the first thing we want to talk about is one of the things my father taught me is you got to have a faith life. And what I mean by that is that you got to have something faith-based that you kind of believe in that can kind of guide you. And again, it's all about creating a foundation. It doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect. It doesn't mean that you're going to always do things the right way, but it just means that you have a faith life in which you kind of conduct yourself from a faith-based standpoint, right? And I think a lot of people are missing out on that because they have no faith-based standpoint. And what you see in the world right now is you see secular people, right, trying to out-secular each other. And that's what they're fighting over. So often when you come into a disagreement with somebody on like how life should be worked, it's often they have a very secular perspective of it. And then they believe that you have a secular perspective of it. And then we're going to fight over it. It's very little faith-based. It's not based on their faith. So the principles that they take on how life should go is often not based on their faith. It's based on, I have this very secular view of the world. And then I want to argue with you on who has the best secular view of the world, right? So something I was taught by my father at a very early age is you got to have some type of faith life, right? He was raised by my grandmother, who was a very, very faith-based person, right? She very much was a follower of the word. She very much was into her word, and it wasn't something she did just on Sunday. It was day in and day out for her. That's how she really was raised, and that's how she functioned. Okay, so she raised him. Okay, so she really, really put an impression on him in that particular area. Again, nobody's perfect, but the reason why we talked about foundation, there was a time in my life where I really wasn't strong as far as adhering to the principles of my faith. But because I had the foundation, it was easy for me to go back to it. Once you go back to it and you kind of see what's in the environment, you realize that a lot of these people are just faking, right? Because I actually come out of the space for real, right? So you're seeing a lot of people that are just entertaining and they're faking. We got people on the internet that like, they don't commit any sins. They're telling you, hey, I committed a sin 20 years ago. Like, this is foolishness, but it gets by people because they really don't have a foundation around their faith. They're kind of just starting. They're relatively new. And so they're attracted to every little hot thing as opposed to the day in and day out stuff they're just supposed to do as a faith-based person, regardless of your religion. Okay. Next thing, right? Stay out of trouble. Don't look for trouble. Okay. So I learned that first, the best thing for you to do is to stay out of trouble. The next best thing for you to do is don't look for trouble. Right. And so that's something I still apply to this day. I try to stay out of trouble to the most part, and I don't look for trouble. So if this is foundational, then you don't get caught up in stuff, right? My father didn't tell me, some of this weird stuff that these people be saying on the internet and some of these weird pastors who trying to get their little name off. But he kind of got me to understand, stay out of trouble and don't look for trouble. Like, don't leave the house looking for trouble. And if you adhere to that, you'll stay out of the way of a lot of stuff, right? And so that was really important because I still use that to guide myself today. Like, I don't look to have problems with people. I don't look to start issues with people. I don't look to have beef. I don't look to do any of that because I'm trying to stay out of trouble and I'm also not looking at trouble, right? Next thing, he taught me that men need to work. This is really, really important, okay? My father was raised by a man who worked 3 jobs. Right? My grandfather on my mother's side worked 2 to 3 jobs. All my uncles worked. Right? I don't know what it's like to be around men that don't work and try to make money. Like, I don't have a point of reference for that. I do not have a point of reference of men that try to live off of women. I don't have a point of reference of dudes that don't work and they just waste time all day. Like, that's not my point of reference. I have no point of reference on how to conduct myself like that. Right? My father taught me that men need to work. Now, if you sick, you injured, that's different. But I just spoke to my father like 2 days ago. Okay. My father's a super senior. Like, he's very much a senior. Okay. And I asked him when he was going to retire. And he was like, I'll probably retire in like 2 or 3 years. Because my father has a job based on his profession that allows him to primarily just do like mental work, right? As long as he can type into a computer, as long as he can think, he can work, he can make money. He doesn't do anything physical. He doesn't have that kind of job. That's not his profession. So as long as he can think and type into a computer, he can work, he can make money. So he's like, yeah, I'll probably quit in 2 years because his job keeps him mentally sharp, and makes sure that his brain keeps working and make sure that he has something to look forward to in the morning. So he was like, yeah, I'll probably retire. My father's way past retirement age. Like, he's way past that. He was like, yeah, I'll probably quit in 2 or 3 years. But when I was a kid waking up, I always saw my father wake up in the morning, get ready for work, go to work. My father would come from work, pick me up for like sports practice, pick me up from band practice, take me to a practice. Like, I go home sometimes, I have to go to a practice. He would leave work, come take me to the practice, right? So I always saw my father working. Right? Always saw my grandfather working. My grandfather worked 3 jobs. Right? I wasn't raised with my mother's father, right? Because they didn't come back down to Florida till they got older. But the men in my life, I always saw them working. I have no point of reference of men that don't work and just sit around and wait for women to do stuff. Right? Now, that's a double-edged sword because many women say they want a man to work, and then when they get one, they don't like it. But the women in my family know how to function with men that work. I have a sibling. She got married. I knew what kind of man she was going to marry because why? I knew the kind of man that she was raised around. My brother-in-law works. Like, he works. I already knew she was going to marry a guy like that because why? That's all she was raised around. So my brother-in-law works, and he works like not an overnight shift, but he works a late shift. But I knew she was going to marry a guy that works because that's her point of reference is men that work. And she understands how to function with a man that works a lot, right? Some women don't, and they say they want somebody, but they really don't because you got to know how to function. When my grandfather would come home, my grandfather was a custodian, right? Some people call it a janitor, some people call it a custodian, right? He cleaned up one church and then he cleaned up like offices. That was his skill set, right? Didn't have a lot of education. He worked a lot of late shifts because, a lot of businesses, they don't really want to clean until the business is closed. So, we'll be at my grandma's house having a sleepover, whatever, with my cousins. He would come in late at night. My grandma would make him some food. He would eat, sleep, wake up like 2-3 hours later, go right back to work, right? He did that for a very, very long time that he got too old to do that type of stuff, right? So I think my father really hammering in me that you got to work, right? It put an impression on me, and I started working early. But anybody that really has been around me, they gonna tell you I'm gonna work. They'll tell you that. Like I've dated different women. They'll tell you a lot of stuff about me. They won't tell me that I wouldn't work. They're not gonna tell you that. They won't tell me that they won't buy the bag. They're not gonna tell you that, right? Because that's never been me. I'm gonna always try to find a way to make me some money, right? Unless I'm really, really sick, I'm going to work. I'm gonna try to figure. I wake up in the morning ready. How can I figure out how to make some money today, right? And so I may take it to the extreme, but it's never been I'm sitting around waiting for somebody else to pay my bills. Definitely not wait for no woman to pay my bills. I wasn't raised that way. And so I think that a lot of people don't know how to function with a person that really has been programmed to work, right? They may want the proceeds or the distribution of what that person produces, but they may not really know how to function with that person. Because again, my father is an example. My father is a senior, and he's still working, and he ain't trying to quit no time soon. Right? Because I went to Orlando for his birthday party, and it was on a Sunday, and he was going to work that Monday. We went to Cracker Barrel for like a little breakfast, like a family breakfast. He left the family breakfast and went to work. You know what I'm saying? And he don't have to go to work. He want to work because he understands like how important it is that men have a job and men got something to do. Okay, let's keep going. I didn't want to sit on that too long. Consistency is better than short-term excitement, right? I think this is really, really important. We live in a world that has been made to be very, very consistent. Okay. And a lot of people benefit from that world. Okay. They benefit from that, but they don't understand what was created and how difficult it is to keep that going. So they get the benefit from the consistency, but don't really realize what it takes to make the consistency. It's work. You right now have water that comes out of your faucet that's relatively clean. It takes people working every day to make that happen. You right now have an electrical grid that's relatively reliable. It takes people working every day, even on Sundays, right? Even on holidays to make that happen. You may have a healthcare footprint in your city to where at 3 o'clock in the morning, if you need to go to the ER, there's going to be somebody there. It takes people working day in and day out to make that happen. You have roads that are available to you to move all across the situation that you need, the city, the state, whatever. It takes people maintaining those roads. I live out here in the metro. They're always working on the road out here. Okay. What people have to understand is that we have built a world that's relatively consistent, but it's so consistent that people take it for granted. And so really understanding that consistency is better than short-term excitement, I think is really, really important. And I want to give an example of kind of what I mean. And so here's a guy, y'all know him, y'all see him, and he did a little quick video about why boring kind of can lead to success. I'm going to go show that video real quick. So let me stop my cam.
You want to know a little secret to success? You need to get addicted to boring. Discipline is boring. Consistency is boring. But doing something consistently well over and over and over and over and over for days, months, years, eventually leads to success. You know, I have had trouble losing weight because I can't get used to the boring. I can't get used to eating these calories for this meal, drinking water. You know what's fun? Milkshakes are fun. Cheeseburgers are fun. I want to try this food. I want to try that food. You know what's boring? Protein shake at 8, yogurt at 11, salad at 2, rice cakes at 5, chicken breast at 8, go to bed, get rest, do it again. But if I can get addicted to that in 2, 3, 4 years, you'll be like, dang, Kev, you looking good, because it's boring. My videos that I've been doing a video a day for the last 10 years now. Is it 10 years? 12 years. Addicted to boring. You know, we've gone viral, truly viral. 6, 7 in 12 years. Truly, unabashedly, 10, 15, 20 million views, 6 or 7. I've done 1 to 3 videos a day for the last 10 or 12 years and gone viral maybe 6 or 7 times. Probably not even that, 2 or 3 times. But every single day I go out there and I put something up. Sometimes the thing that I love, stand up, those clips do nothing. Me talking about doo-doo does better than that. But I just do it over and over. Okay, that's why, honestly, I'm going to show you a harsh truth. I'm going to show you a harsh truth. I could give you everything I know, but are you going to do it? Are you going to be doing it? Or are you going to get stuck, bored, burnt out after a week, month, year? That's the truth. Most people know what they need to do. They just can't consistently do it. And even in your relationships, addicted to boring. And I don't mean boring like I don't want to do nothing new, but like boring in the sense of I'm coming home to you every day. There's no danger. Oh, is she going to catch me with this person? Oh, out of town. There's safety in the boring. Safety and consistency. God bless you. Have an amazing day. You want to know?
Yeah, so just want to kind of talk about consistency in better than being short-term excitement. And I think, again, the world is so consistent that we sometimes look for the short-term excitement. But the reason why we have the life that we currently have today, and the reason why we have the systems and we're very, very safe and secure in certain environments, is because of the consistency. You look at that particular plane crash that happened in India. The reason why that plane crash is a big deal is because most planes don't crash. If planes crashed every day, it'd be like a regular thing. Is that most planes don't crash and kill 200 something people. So everybody wants short-term excitement. Do you want short-term excitement that where you're worried that when the plane takes off, you might die? Is that the kind of short-term excitement you want? Is that the kind of spontaneous activity that you want? You want to feel confident that when you get on that plane plane's going to take off and land safely, right? So what we know is that most people don't really value consistency till it gets pulled out from up under them. And then when they have to exist in a world where things are very spontaneous, you really don't know what's going to happen, and it's day in and day out, then they start looking for the consistency. So that's something that I was taught, right? Let's keep going. Next thing is that blood family is better, right? I'm sorry, blood family is important. Family is not just how you feel day to day, right? So let me go ahead and bring that other screen back up. And so what I mean by that is that often, right, we sometimes don't value what I call your blood family. And what I mean by your blood family is that these are the people that are your immediate family, right? One form, we call that your blood. Again, we live in a world, right, where a lot of people are having family issues. They're very challenged. They don't have a point of reference. They don't have a framework. So they don't really believe in blood family being important. So then now we have this internet where I can find a bunch of other people who also have dealt with this same challenge in their life. And then I can all connect with them. And then we can talk about how, family is a bunch of people that I meet to where we can agree on something. And now we're going to be our family. Okay. People to me create those type of relationships because they're forced to, right? Because if they didn't, they would normally stick around their blood family. And so here's what I want you to understand. This has happened to me in my own life. When I've had downturns in my life, when things have not gone the way I want them to go, when I've had to deal with, downturns, who the people I went to help me was my blood family, right? Because that's who I knew I could depend on to help me. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So this has been my real life, right? I've never had a financial downturn in my life and I asked a woman to help me out financially. Never done it. Won't do it. I'm going to go to my family first. Until I'm married, I'm not going to ask no woman to help me financially. I won't do it. because I know it's going to come up later on. So that's why I'm cool with that, right? Because sometimes people don't help you to help you. They help you because they help you to say they help you, right? They don't help you because they want to help you. They help you because they want to put that in, they want to bring that up later on. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go to my family. And so this is what I've had to do. I had an issue with my business now like 4 or 5 years ago. I needed to get back on my feet. I went to my family to get help in that area, right? Because the people that were quote unquote I was cool with and yada, 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 they weren't going to help me. They didn't care about me. Let me explain something to you how real this is to me. I have a member of my family I haven't talked to in probably almost 20 years now, right? I don't know what the issue is. We just haven't spoken. If somebody called me right now and say, hey, so-and-so and so-and-so needs some help and I can help them, I'm going to send it through. Because why? That's still my family. At the end of the day, I was raised with this person, right? We're related. So it don't matter that we haven't had a conversation in almost 20 years. That doesn't mean anything to me. That's still my family. So what I've seen in the real world is that people will feel a certain way about you at that present time. And they'll be willing to help you at that present time because of how they feel. When they no longer feel that way about you at that time, they're no longer willing to offer that help because they just felt a certain way about you at that time. It doesn't matter how I feel about members of my family. If I can help them, I'm going to help them because why? We family. Doesn't matter how I feel. That never enters into the calculation. Unless I feel like they're actively trying to destroy my life, none of that matters to me. I realized as I got older, I was raised different, right? So I don't buy into this thing to where I can form relationships with people and we're not really family, but we're really family. I don't believe in that. And some people do. I believe that my blood family is my blood family, right? And the people that are not my blood family, they're not. It don't mean that I don't honor them, I don't respect them, I don't value them, but they're not the same as my blood family. It's not the same. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? And so I think it's very unfortunate that people have to form these other type of relationships because, again, if the only reason why somebody will do something for you and help you in your time of need is because they like you at that time, you got to constantly figure out how to make sure they keep liking you, right? That's what you got to do. I don't have to do that with my family. Doesn't mean I'm trying to destroy their life. It means I'm not sitting around trying to figure out how to make sure this person keeps liking me. Because in real life, you could be in a relationship with somebody and you don't like them every day. It don't mean you're not in a relationship with them, right? It doesn't mean that, well, because I'm not feeling good about this person this day, I look to destroy the relationship. I've had people in my family, we didn't always see eye to eye. End of the day, they still my blood. That don't change nothing. So, you know, we may be cool for 2 or 3 weeks and then we'll get right back and keep it pushing because in the day, they still my blood, right? So I think that's something that my father really hammered into me. It also came from my grandmother, is that blood family is real important. I grew up going to family reunions the whole 9 yards, right? So that's what I want you to understand. Family is not just how you feel about somebody day to day, right? It is not. But I think a lot of people, again, because they don't have the point of reference, all they know is I'm around a bunch of people and we like each other right now. Well, what can y'all do as a group when y'all don't like each other? Does everything just fall apart? Do y'all become ineffective? Or do y'all figure out a way to manage the situation and still move forward as a group, even though we don't currently like each other? Okay. Next thing, know the history of your family. This is really important, right? So here's where my people are from on my dad's side, right? This is off the coast of Carolina. This is where my people is from. Okay. A lot of y'all never been here. You never gonna go there. That's cool. Then they moved more inland as time went on, right? I can go to early 1900s census and I can pull up my grandmother's birth records or the date of her particular birth, I meant to say. I think it's really, really important that people know the history of their family. I think it's very unfortunate because of the way in which people have reproduced and created relationships and yada, 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 where the history of their family has been lost. The downside of that is that anybody can tell you anything about your family and you don't have a way of discerning whether or not it's true. Let me explain something to you. Anglos cannot tell me the history of my family because why? I already know the history of my family. So I won't listen to them. So there's nothing for us to talk about, right? So there's no way that an Anglo is going to sit there and tell me the history of my family when I know the history of my family because it's been taught to me by members of my family. So there's nothing for us to talk about. So there's nothing for us to argue. I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to get hot button because why? I came in the door knowing the history of my family. This is why this is so important. Many of us really don't know the history of our family. So now we're arguing with Anglos and we're arguing with Africans over the history of our family. There's nothing to argue if you actually know the history of your people. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So that's what I want people to understand. This is something that was really, really put into me. I know my people's history. I know where my grandparents came from. I know who their parents are. My grandmother's father was in the, I forgot what it is. It's the name of the particular Union Army for the colored troops, right? He was in that particular group of the Union Army during the Civil War. I know where my people come from. And so a lot of people, because they struggle with that type of stuff, they don't know where their people come from. So now they're arguing with people over what there's nothing for me to argue because I know where my people come from on my mother's side and on my dad's side. My grandmother on my mother's side was born in the Freedmen's Hospital in DC. Most of y'all don't even know about the Freedmen's Hospital. You don't even know what that is, right? You don't even know what the Freedmen's Hospital is. My grandmother on my mother's side was born in the Freedmen's Hospital in DC. I've had people in DC going on almost 100 years. In the DC DMV area, which is Maryland, right outside of DC, I've had family in that area now for almost over 100 years. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So I don't argue with people over my history. And that's something I've told Black people, is that you're arguing with people over your history, right? And the reason why you're entertaining it because you don't know your history. So you're entertaining it, right? So I think that's something that really my father really helped me, is knowing the history of my family, knowing where my people came from, knowing how I got here. So I know why I'm sitting in front of you right now. I know the sacrifices that was made. I know what people had to do. I know what they had to do to get me here. I didn't get here by myself, right? So I want people to really understand that. So I think that's really important. Okay, let's keep on going. I didn't mean to sit on that too long, right? It's not your job to be entertainment, right? My father, and also the people that raised him, my grandfather's a little bit more outgoing than my father. My father's more like my grandmother. They're very introverted. They're very stern. They're very strict, right? I grew up in an era, because of my age, where they were trying to cast Black men into this role of, well, every kind of socially acceptable Black man is going to be an entertainer, right? And so that's kind of the role they tried. Like, society was only promoting like Black entertainers, okay? And my father got me to understand it's not your job to be somebody's entertainment. Like, we're not raising you to be an entertainer. It's not your job. That's why I told people I played sports, but never really had a desire to go play professional, because my parents really didn't care about me playing sports like that. Like, they didn't care. Like, that's what I wanted to do, but they weren't like betting on that. They didn't care, because my father really got me to understand, like, it's not your job to be somebody's entertainment. Like, that's not your job, right? And so that's something that I still, deal with to this day, where a lot of people think the role of somebody in their life is to be their entertainment, right? Because my father was he's very introverted. He could come across very stern. He could come across very, I forgot what you call it, aloof to a lot of people, right? And he's not doing it to be disrespectful. That's just kind of how he was raised. My grandfather's a little bit more outgoing than him. They just had different personalities. He got more of his mother's personality. But he taught me, like, it's not your job to be entertainment. It's not your job to make people laugh. It's not your job to sing and dance for people. That's not your job, right? There's a YouTuber who's made a lot of money on YouTube, and he would take these thumbnails, and his eyes would be bugged out like Step and Fetch It. And I just couldn't believe that his parents didn't raise him to have more pride for himself. But he was coming from the aspect of something's wrong with Black folks. But I'm like, was nothing's wrong with you taking these Step and Fetch It, bugged out our pictures on your thumbnails? But he realized the only way I'm ever going to make a certain amount of money in this society is to be white people's entertainment. If that's the only way I'm going to make a certain amount of money, I'm not going to make the money, because I just wasn't raised that way. People that know me know I like to laugh and joke and yada, 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 but I'm not here to be your entertainment, right? If you're bored, it's not my job to like try to figure out how to entertain you day in and day out. That's a lot of work. right? And so I think a lot of people struggle with that because in America, for a very long time, Black people couldn't make gains outside of entertainment. And so for a very long time, we kind of put Black people in this category of entertainer. And then now it becomes like a social norm where Black people are supposed to be the entertainment. And if they don't fit into the entertainment role, we don't know where to put them because we've been socialized to where that's their role, right? But he taught me at a very young age, that's not your job to be anybody's entertainment. That's not your job at all. And I don't want to see you doing that type of stuff to be acceptable to people. So a lot of people will be like, man, Dave, too serious, yada, yada, yada. It's not that. It's that you have been socialized to think that the job of a Black man is to entertain you. And that's not the job of a Black man. All right. Also taught me brains over brawn. My father is nowhere near as tall as me. He's not as big as me. He's the average size of a man. Right. My height comes from my mother's side. And also it does come from my father's father because my grandfather's like about 6 foot tall, which is taller than average. My father is average man height. It's not as big as me. But he taught me that it's brains over brawn. What I mean by that is that your brain has to be better than your physical ability. So because he invested in that, why now at a senior age, he could still work and make money because why? It was never about his physical ability. It's about can he think and process. So he taught me that at a young age, it's brains over brawn. So I make the majority of my money with my brain. I make very little of my money being physical. Now, have I worked physical jobs? Yes, I've done warehouse jobs. I worked in freezers, right? I've done all kinds of jobs that are physical. But I never neglected my brain, right? I never let this society tell me my only value is what I can bring to the table physically. Never bought into that. Because I had an example in my home telling me, you got to develop your brain more than your physical ability, right? And continue then being an example of that in my life where he was developing his brain over his physical ability. So me growing up in an era where all the movie stars was big muscle bound dudes taking a whole bunch of steroids, that didn't really move me because why? My example in my household was somebody that was showing me this about brain power, right? So I had the balance, right? I had the balance. I could go watch the muscle-bound dudes and go watch the big athletes, but I also had somebody in my home showing me, yes, about brain power. Like your brain can actually work. And that's something that a lot of young men are challenged with when I deal with them. Their brain don't work that good because they haven't developed it. Not because they're stupid. Is they haven't developed their talent in that particular area. It's not because they dumb. They haven't developed it. So they muscle for thinking. They muscle for critical thinking. It's very weak. And when you talk to them, the conclusions they come to are nonsensical. Right? But it's like taking somebody into a gym that's never lifted weights. The bar will be heavy to them because why? They never lifted. Right? They never lifted. So when you take people and they haven't really worked to develop their brain, they struggle at it. Right? And developing your brain is not just I can do work and take a test given to me by Anglos and I pass the test and I mean I'm smart. That's not what I'm talking about. Right? So that's what I want you to understand. So that's something else he taught me. Right? Next one. You got to have a backbone out here because you're going to need it. And what I mean is that you got to be able to stand for stuff. You got to be able to go through things and you got to be able to withstand it because the world is going to put pressure on you because they think you're going to crush. Right? This system is designed to really make Black men collapse. That's what it's designed to do. Always been designed to do that. It's designed to collapse you. It's designed to make you have a mental breakdown. It's designed to break you physically. It's designed to get you to buy into things that are going to destroy you and your family. It's designed to do that because you got to know who the author or the father of this particular system is. Once you understand that, everything else going to make sense because you understand what's the motivation of why these people are doing what they're doing. Right? Because we don't understand who the author and the father of the system is, we don't understand why what's going on, and then you can get caught up in it. So you got to have a backbone because you have to be able to withstand some of this stuff because it's designed to put pressure on you to get you to collapse under the weight of what they're putting you through, right? And it could be some heavy stuff, especially the people around you don't understand it. And so they're not really encouraging you. They're not, really trying to build you up. They also trying to crush you along with the system. But that's something that we was born in this particular era. We got to take what come with it, right? But you got to have a backbone because you're going to need it. Next one. People want to deny your manhood. Don't let them. Okay? So you're a black man in this society. People don't want to deny that you're actually a man. There's a big effort to do that. Been going on for decades. Really been going on for well over hundreds of years. Right? You're really not a man. You're everything else except that. You can't let them do that. You can't let Anglos do it. You can't let black people do it, because black people do it because they was taught by Anglos to do it. Right? So they don't even know they're doing it. They've been socialized to do it. You can't let people deny your manhood. Right? So you got to make sure that you're maintaining yourself in these particular areas, because they want to do it. So now they can go in and do certain stuff to you because they got to accept that you're not a man. So denying your manhood is you're in an area with no jobs, but you're also not taught how to create a job for yourself or how to be independent or be an independent professional. So you have no skills of making money, right? So you just laying around, right? And then you accept that. And then the people around you accept that for you. See, so you have to understand what's really going on. You can't let people deny you your manhood. So one of the biggest challenges I have with people is they think they're going to deal with me and they're not going to deal with me like a man. It's not going to happen, right? It's just not. And I think it's very unfortunate that some black people buy into that. I think it's very unfortunate some black women buy into that. But I understand how strong this program is. But it's not going to happen, right? I'm a man, right? Am I perfect? Nope. Do I do things wrong? Yes, but I'm still a man. I'm the original man. There was no man before me. So the fact that you think people that came after me is more of a man, they wouldn't be here without me because I'm the original man. I'm the man that God put on this planet first. And I'm not just saying that, that's in the Bible, if you actually read your Bible. So it's weird that we have this effort to deny the original man his manhood when there are no other men without us, right? So we have to really understand what's going on around us and what kind of things are going on and what kind of schemes people are trying to put in this particular society, right? Let's keep going. You're not a bad person because you're a black man, or you're not a bad person because you're black and a male, right? So don't let somebody program you. I was taught, don't let somebody program you that because you're black and you're a male, you're automatically a bad person, right? So if something happens, you should feel guilty because it happened. Or if, you know, what Sean Combs did make me look bad, that don't make me look bad, that make him look bad, right? What Bill, that don't make, you know, so what some kids is doing in Atlanta and acting foolish, when I go to work, I got to be worried about, that don't impact me because I didn't do that. See, so every other group is able to deal with what they've done as an individual. With us, we have collective guilt. These is plantation politics, right? These plantation politics. When one person on the plantation do something wrong, they punish everybody. This is how they try to do black folks. So I'm supposed to be, and you see this a lot on the internet, where you have a lot of people that's so conflicted about being black because they bought into, I'm black and I'm a male, so I'm automatically bad. So then I got to try to figure out how to separate myself from other black people. I don't play them kind of games, bro. I'm not guilty just because I'm black and I'm a male. I'm not at guilt. You can't put stuff on me. You can't put a jacket on me that don't fit. I'm responsible for what I did, right? So you can't blame me for what everybody else did, because nobody else accepts that blame except us. We get blamed for what everybody else does, right? But everybody else get to stand on their own. So that's something he got me to understand. Don't buy into this stuff because it's designed to destroy you, right? It really is. And so you got to understand that. Let's keep going. The people who make you feel small are losers 99% of the time. Most of these people that get on here and they got so much negative to say about black men, but black people in general, if you really look into their life, they're losers. Whether they white, black, green, or purple. Whether they male or female. I don't care that they get money off the YouTube. Most of them are losers. So he got me to understand that long time ago. These people who are making this strong concerted effort to make you feel like you are nobody and to make you feel small just because you black and you a man, or you black and you a male, if you really get to know them, most of them are losers, right? They got nothing really going on, right? So what it is misery loves company. Let me see, can I get some people to get on one accord with me? But most of these people ain't got nothing going on. And once you start to really get into a lot of these people's lives, you realize they really don't have nothing going. They've been able to attract a bunch of other losers because we got a lot of people in this world, they're losing. They just got access to the internet, but they don't have nothing going on with their life. like for real. Next thing, you got to have goals that's bigger than girls, drugs, entertainment. This is real big. A lot of men don't have goals that's bigger than the next girl they want to have sex with, right? The drugs they want to take, and some entertainment. They don't have a goal that's bigger than that because that's what makes them fun. See? Well, he got me to understand you got to have goals bigger than that. So even at times in my life where I wasn't the most positive person and I was doing stuff wrong, my goals was never girls, drugs, and entertainment. That was never my goal. People that always know me would take Dave by trying to get him some money. Now, I wasn't always doing it the right way, but my goal was never girls, drugs, and entertainment. People that really know you would tell you, man, David was always trying to get him some money. Right? I just had to learn how to go about it in a positive way. But my goal was never girls, drugs, and entertainment. I've always had goals bigger than that. And I'm the kind of person, as soon as I hit a goal, I got another goal. Right? I'm thinking 3-4 goals down because I got something I'm trying to do out here. So I'm thinking 3-4 goals down the road. Okay, I got this. Let me get to this. Let me get to that. I'm always thinking like that. I can't stop thinking like that. That's just how my brain works. So it's taken me longer than a lot of other people. If I would have went the traditional route, right, I might have got there faster. I might not have got there faster. But it's taken me longer than a lot of people because I took the non-traditional route to a lot of stuff. But I've always had goals, right? My life has never been just girls, drugs, and entertainment. That's never been my story because there's a lot of tricking in that, right? And I ain't never been a trick because it's a lot of tricking in that formula right there. And I've never been a trick. So that's never been my goal, is just girls, drugs, and entertainment, right? So if your role model or your reference point as a man is somebody that's just consumed with girls, drugs, and entertainment, you'll start to think that's what it's about. And it's hard to build a foundation off of that because there's really nothing left at the end of that when you're done, right? And you see men still in their 60s, still in their 70s, where they still chasing this and they don't have nothing to show for their life. Right? But they exciting, but they entertaining, but their whole life is girls, drugs, and entertainment. Let's keep going. People will distract you and then leave you by yourself. Right? So let me tell you a story. So I was talking to this chick out of Fort Lauderdale. Right? And I called my aunt up and I was telling her, like, this is back when I was at college in Tampa. And I was like, yeah, I'm talking to this chick, yada, yada, yada. But I got this test I need to study for. And she want me to go out, but I need to study for this test. And my aunt was like, if she really on your team, she going to push you to study or she going to help you study. She not going to try to take you away from studying. Right? And so what I want you to understand is that my father got me to realize is that a lot of people are really not invested in what you got going on. They're really not. They really could care less. And so what they'll try to do is they will try to distract you from your goals, right? Because they'll seem more fun than what you currently got going on, right? You know them people that it's just they real cool to hang out with, they real cool to be with. They seem more fun than what you currently got going on. They're a distraction from your goals. Once they distract you from your goals, y'all will run your course and then they'll leave you by yourself, but then you got off your goals. See how that works? So they not create an environment to where I'm going to come in and help you lock in on your goals. Well, I'm going to come in and help you hit your goals. I'm going to come in and distract you from your goals. And then when I get done with the situation, I'm going to leave you. And you know what happened? You never hit your goals and they're gone. So now goals that you could have hit this year now get pushed into next year and now they're gone. So now your heart's broken and you ain't hit your goals. You might as well hit your goals and have a broken heart. See? So you got to realize that a lot of people, they really think that that's their value, is taking you away from stuff because they really don't know and they really not committed to your goals. A lot of people struggle committing to something that's not their idea. They struggle with it. And a lot of people, because of the way in which we set this world up, they're competing to be the head of stuff. So they don't want to get with a man and say, okay, you the head, I'm going to play backup and I'm going to support what you got going on. And I'm going to find my happiness in what I got going on. but I'm going to support you and we're going to put it together. They don't want to do that. They want to be the head, so they fighting you over that. So it is what it is. But I'm telling you as a man, people will come into your life. They will distract you from what you got going on, and then they will pass through your life. And not only did they give you heartbreak, you also ain't hit your goals. See, but when you don't have goals, that's not an issue because you got no goals. Because your goals is this. See how that works? It's a cold formula. So if your goals is just girls, drugs, and entertainment, it's easy for people to come into your life because that's only your goals. When you got real goals, you got to do this. Now, when it's a woman, it's acceptable to say, well, you know, you got to watch out for men because they're going to mess you up in college or they're going to mess up your job. But when you're a man, you're not supposed to have that kind of mindset, right? Because the only danger is supposed to be men. It's not supposed to be anything else. So this is kind of how, like I said, how they built this world. But my father taught me a long time ago, people will come into your life. They will distract you. Then they'll leave and you'll be off track and your heart will be broken or you'll be upset because you and this person ain't cool no more. And then now your stuff get pushed into the next year. And people do this their whole life. They start something, they quit. They start something, they quit. And it's because of the people around them. They can't stay focused. So I don't try to take people off their program. If I see that you got a program, I say, run your program. I was talking to a girl. We was talking, right? We was getting cool. She told me she wanted to be an airline stewardess. I say, cool, go do that. I knew we weren't going to be in a relationship because I know what goes with being an airline stewardess. The first 2 years you're on call, right? So there was really no way we was going to be able to date as her being an airline stewardess first. I say, but that's what you want to do. Go do your thing. I'm not going to hold you back from what you want to do because that's what you want to do. We're not married, right? I'm not here to distract you from your goals because I know that's a trope about men that we just coming in to be a distraction. We never talk about vice versa, right? So that's something he got me to really understand. And I've seen this play out over the course of my life is that people often do not what they have. They really don't care about what you got going on. They're trying to do their thing, right? Whatever their thing is. But they're not invested in what you got going. They do not care, right? They really don't, right? Because if I'm dealing with, let's say I meet a woman and she like, hey, I'm in a PhD program at Tech. I got to realize that part of her program involves her doing a lot of studying. Or I meet a woman that's doing her residency in medical. That involves her doing a lot of work. I got to deal with that and I can't come in and take her away from what she's doing. I can't do that. Because that's what she's doing, and she was doing that when I met her. So if I'm not cool with that situation that she got going, I need to go do something else. I need to go move around. But I think a lot of people really don't truly care about what that other person got going on, which means they don't care about that other person, right? Next one. A plan is better than no plan. Real big. So my father comes out of a profession, and he comes out of an education space where everything is procedure. Everything is procedure. Everything is sequence. Everything. So the way his brain works is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? That's how his brain works. So he taught me a long time ago, having a plan is always better than no plan. At least you got something to go off of. Right? A lot of people don't want to put no plan together. They just want to do stuff. Right? The problem is when things don't go your way, you ain't got nothing to fall back to. Right? So because of the way in which he's been trained in his profession where everything is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, he thinks structure all the time. So y'all think I talk a lot about structure. You ain't seen nothing. He thinks structure all the time. He thinks do this. Okay, then do this. Okay, then do this. So I was having a conversation with him about me wanting to get into some political parties in my metro area and how I should go about it. And he was like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is how you need to do it. Because he was like, if you don't do it this way, it's going to cause problems for you when you get down to this part of the situation. He laid the whole structure up because that's how he's been trained to think about stuff. Because his profession demands that. He works in a profession where you can't do what you want to do. It won't work for you. You got to do things based on a structure that was already created before you ever showed up. And then you got to show success in that structure. But you cannot just go in there and do what you want to do. It won't work. So he thinks like that when he deals with problem solving. Everything's a structure. It's a process. It's a system. That's how he thinks about everything. Okay, let's keep going. Things will get tough. You got to keep going. We talked about that. Okay. This has been a very, I wouldn't say challenging year, but it's been a very interesting year for me. Right. I've had a lot of different situations go on. Right. I'm a single person by myself. If something happened, I got to take care of it. Right. I don't miss work. I don't. I wake up. Even if I don't feel good, I wake up. I had a situation, we'll put y'all a little bit in my business. Earlier this year, I wasn't really feeling great. I didn't know what was going on. But you know what? I just still woke up and went to work. Still got to make money. Still got to pay bills. Still got financial goals I got to hit. Right? The goal is for me to get to a space to where I can take 2 years off of work. I'm not in that space yet. So to get to that space, I got to do what? I got to keep producing to get to that space. The goal is to get to a space where I can take 2 years off of work. Right? Well, I have enough saved up to where if I got to miss 2 years of work, it's whatever. That's the goal. But I'm not in that. I'm not there yet. So I can't do that yet. But earlier this year, I wasn't feeling great. Didn't know what was going on. I'm fine now, but wasn't really feeling great. It wasn't nothing serious, but I wasn't really feeling great. But it didn't stop me from working. I still got up and went to work. Because when I was young, right, I had a lot of chores I had to do growing up. I lived in a home, had a big old yard, right? Started off me and my father doing the yard together. Then he turned around and said, okay, you got to do the yard. So I got to cut grass, edge grass, got to rake leaves, got to rake grass, got to cut bushes, right? So pretty much every Saturday I had yard work I had to do to maintain the yard. I didn't like doing that, but I had to do it, right? My father made me do certain stuff and I didn't understand why I had to do it. But you know what? When I moved out of my parents' house and lived on my own, I knew how to get up, go to work, go home, get up, go to work, do the same thing over and over again. When I decided I was going to go back to college, I knew how to get up, go to class, go to work, go home, get up, I know how to just program myself. Because why? As a young age, my father started programming me. Yeah, you got to do this stuff. Yeah, you don't like it. Yeah, it's tough. Still got to do it, though. Still got to do it. When you get done being upset, still got to get done because it got to get done. If you don't do the yard work, the home value going to go down. So you got to do the yard work, right? If you don't take care of these situations, they're going to come back to bite you in the ass later on. So you got to do them. Yeah, you don't like to do them. Still got to do them. So don't ever make yourself believe that I don't do something if I don't want to do it. I do a lot of stuff I don't want to do because why? It got to get done. Nobody else ain't going to do it. So he kind of taught me that a lot of your life is going to be stuff that you don't want to do. That's why this idea to where I've reached this epitome of life to where like life is all about me and I just do my own thing. This is like childish thinking for grown people. But this is the world we in. A lot of people struggle in certain environments because they don't realize a lot of being with people, being part of a structure is doing what you don't want to do. That's just part of it. I talked about being members of a team, right? Sometimes being members of a team don't mean you always get to do what you want to do all the time. It just means you do what you got to do to make the team successful. And you got to find your happiness in that, right? So I want to really tell a lot of younger men, a big part of life is when things get tough, you got to get going. Don't mean you're not going to have doubts. Don't mean you're not going to have fear. Don't mean that. But you know what it means? You got to wake up. You got to get to it. That's it. Bills still got to get paid, right? If God bless you with another day, get up and get to it because God done gave a lot of people didn't wake up the next day. God bless you with another day. You got to wake up and get to it. You got action. Get to it. You'll figure something out because sometimes just your action will figure something out. You'll be active and something will come up just because you're active. But sitting around, oh man, yada, 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 get active because you way better off. It's people, man, that's in chairs. It's people laid up in the hospital, right? You got way more action than them. You got to get something going. You got to get something going, right? So that's something he really got into me. And this was way before the internet, way before you had access to all this different stuff to where you actually had to leave your house and do stuff. And he taught me you got to do something. Something got to shake, right? Next one, don't accept disrespect as normal. This is real big, right? I'm real big on my respect because of how I was raised. Real big. Real big, okay? So a lot of people think it is acceptable to, one, be disrespectful, but to two, be disrespectful to men, three, be disrespectful to black men. You got whole YouTube verticals based on this type of stuff. right? So it hit different levels. He taught me don't accept disrespect as normal. Like, don't ever allow yourself to make you think that an environment where people are just disrespecting you to where you normalize it, to where you think, well, that's just how it is, yada, yada, yada. No, that's how they are. They're wrong, but don't accept that as normal, right? That's not the way things are supposed to be. Let me tell you a story real quick, right? So I'm shopping. I'm in the produce section. It's like 2 days ago. So I'm in there doing my little produce shopping, right? Get my vegetables, right? So I'm in there shopping, and this Anglo lady come up to me, and she say, well, how tall are you? And I'm like, well, I'm 6'4". Now, I've grown a lot as a person, because there was a time that Anglo lady who I do not know come to me and say, like, how tall are you? I'd have probably just looked at her like she was crazy and just ignored her, or been like, why are you talking to me? But I've grown a lot as a person. My heart is soft in a lot of different areas. So I was like, yeah, I'm 6'4". How tall are you? She's like, well, I'm short. And so that's why I had to marry him. And she turned around and pointed at her husband who was walking towards us. We all in the produce department. So I'm trying to throw it off, and I say, well, look like you came out on top. Right? Look like you came out on top. Because I'm trying to throw off that she just disrespected her husband. Like, I don't know what she's trying to be, a comedian. I don't know what's going on. But I try to throw it off, right? But that's what I'm talking about. We've normalized disrespect to men so much. And men, a lot of men feel like, I got to live with this person. And even though they're disrespectful to me, they'll have sex with me. They'll cook for me a little bit. They'll show me a little bit of affection. So I'll take the disrespect. And they've just normalized it without realizing that that's not how things. Why would this woman go to me in public and disrespect her husband to me and then expect me to jump on board with it? That's just the world we live in. So you got to realize how normal this is, where here's what people don't know about me. Unless I really know you, I a lot of times won't even say to you, like, you talking crazy. I'll just listen to you. So if me and you meet for the first time and you talking to me and you talking stupid, I ain't gonna say nothing. I'll just listen to you, right? And then you won't know that I think you talking crazy, because I won't say you talking crazy. I'll just listen to you. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? Because I really want to see how you really function. Because some people, they think, and I'm gonna talk about this. We have people that think that being respectful to a man is exhausting. They really believe that. They think like it's hella work. Like, I'm the kind of person to where if you're an adult like me, male or female, I'm normally going to say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, to you. Right? Even if you're younger than me, just if you're just an adult, I'm normally going to say that. Unless I really know you like that and we got that kind of rapport, I'm normally going to be sir, ma'am, in every account. That's just how I was raised. That's not exhausting to me. So even if I'm mad, I'm still going to do it. If I'm upset, I'm still going to do it. If I'm mad at you, I'm still going to do it, because that's just how I was raised. It's really like a program. It's not, oh, I'm just doing it because I'm being nice. We do have a lot of people now in this environment to where they believe that being respectful to a man is exhausting work. So the moment they get mad at you, all the respect get thrown out the window, which means they never really was into it in the first place. Because the moment they get upset, all the respect get thrown out the window. They start talking to you crazy. You become this. They start yelling and screaming, all that, because that's really what they own. Right? So you got to realize that we're just in this era where a lot of people think being respectful to a man is exhausting work. So I only could take so much of it before I snap out of it and go into who I really am as a person. So my father told me, like, yo, somebody being disrespectful to you is not normal behavior, and you shouldn't normalize it. Right? To where you just think, well, my job is just to manage their disrespect and let them keep going. Nobody's perfect, right? Nobody's perfect. People have bad days, but you should not make it the boys normalize. What that woman said to me in the grocery store, she always talk to her husband like that. That's just what she does. She didn't do that just because of me. That's how she talked. Let's keep going. You're a man, not a slave on a plantation. Okay? I'm a man. I make money. I can take care of things. I can handle certain situations. I'm not a slave on a plantation. My only value is not the money I bring in. And that's something I came on this YouTube and talked about, and gonna keep talking about it because it's how I was raised. My only value is not the money I bring in. My only value is not my financial yield, right? And so you got to be careful when you deal with people, because a lot of people really are not into you like that as a person. They're just into what you bring to the table because it helps them get the life they want. And they're going to cut a deal to where if you can't do that, then you have no value to me, right? That's like men that only like women because they got certain body parts. Like I like chicks with big breasts or big behind or whatever. And they really don't like the person. They just like the body parts, right? So you got to be careful with that, because once they experience some body parts, they don't want to have nothing to do with you anymore. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So a lot of people have framed black men as, you're a slave on a plantation. Your job is just to produce a financial yield. Once you cannot produce that financial yield anymore, you have no more value. So I'll only see you as having that kind of value, right? So they'll pigeonhole you into this particular area, and anything else going on in your life, they can care less. They can care less. It's just, can you provide this financial yield so I can now go live the life I want to live, right? And when you start asking, what do I get out of this deal? Now it's going to come out that you're a slave on a plantation, because a slave on a plantation don't get anything from being a slave on a plantation. You just do. If you just do what they tell you, they don't kill you. But you don't get no benefit. They just don't kill you, right? So you got to realize is that if your job is just to produce financial yield in the relationship, what else do you get out of that? It can't be, well, we just not going to kill you. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So that's something you got to understand, because the game of this particular society is to put you inside a very, very narrow area and to tell you can't operate outside of that area, else it's going to cause problems for you. Let's keep going. You can't beat the devil being the devil. So something I had to learn, right? My father taught it to me as a young age. I had to learn over time. I can't beat evil people by being evil. So I talked about earlier in this video, there's a lot of secularism, right? A lot of worldly ideas, right? And people are trying to beat that with more worldly ideas. It's not going to work, right? It's not. I'm against trans women in sports, right? Not against trans people. That's your business. I'm against trans women in sports. But I don't think you can beat that doing more worldly stuff. Because there's something going on to where a person thinks, well, I should be able to go into women's spaces, and I was a man 12 months ago. Like, there's something going on there, right? So I don't think you can just combat that with worldly stuff and executive. I don't think that, people got to do what they can do. But I'm telling you, you can't combat some of this stuff with more worldly stuff. It's way deeper than that, right? Again, I'm not against trans people, but I don't think that you should be able to go into women's spaces and 12 months ago you was a man. I don't agree with that, right? That's just me. Everybody not going to like it, okay? So you can't beat the devil being the devil. And that's something my father taught me. If you sometimes go to where other people is at, thinking that's where you're going to beat them, you're not going to beat them. You're just going to get stuck down there with them. Because what they want to do is make you play their game, and they way better at their game than you are, right? You got to understand that. Some of these people out here, they sit up all night thinking about evil stuff they're going to do, right? That's all they do. They sit up all night. You won't believe this because this ain't how you live your life. They sit up all night thinking about their next evil plot. You never going to be as good at them as that, because that ain't what you dedicate your life to. So you got to realize that you can't beat the devil by being the devil, right? It got to be another way to go about some of these things to be successful and to combat some of these people than being the devil just like them. Because I'm telling you, bro, it's people. I've known some of these people in my real. I tell people all the time, stay off the streets, because you have no idea what kind of people you're dealing with, right? These people sit up to 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning thinking of evil schemes, bro, that they're going to do to folks, right? This their lifestyle. So you don't want to get caught up with them type of folks. Just leave them people alone, man, right? Next thing he taught me, read. Okay, so again, I was raised in a house with a man that read all the time. So I seen men reading, right? And then I leave my house and realize most people can't read, right? Most people can't read, right? Even on their grade level. See? So I was raised with somebody that read all the time. So you wonder why I pushed reading all the time. Reading was pushed on me. I grew up in a house full of books, people reading all the time, right? Even my grandmother, who didn't even have a whole lot of education, she read all the time because she was always reading the word. So I grew up around readers all the time. Readers. So I read all the time, and I'm a proponent of reading, right? I think most people's problem is they can't read that well. They think they can. They can read enough to function. They really can't read that well, though, right? And their reading muscle has not really been developed. So this is why we got people in the faith-based space, and a woman going to tell you, I ain't going to go into that because I don't want to get into that. But we got people that are promoting stuff that is not accurate to what text is because they know their audience not going to read. So if I know my audience is not going to read, I can say anything because why? They never going to read to figure out what I said in the first place. So what really helped me my whole life, because I was never the best math student, but I could always read, bro. I went to school, right? When I went to first grade, I came in already knowing how to read. They didn't have to teach me nothing about reading because my parents made sure I knew how to read. And I had an example in my home of not only my mother, but also my father reading books all the time. Grew up in a house full of books, right? So I want you to understand, my father really pressed on me. You got to know how to read, not only at a basic level, at an advanced level. You got to know how to read. You need to be reading way above your grade level. It's not that difficult, right? It's really not. Okay. So that's something that he really impressed with me that I still stick with to this day. There's rarely a day go by I don't read. Rarely that I don't read something. Whether it's a newspaper article on the internet, an actual physical book, there's rarely a day that goes by I don't read. Okay. Let's keep going. Real important. Be good counsel. Keep your mouth shut. Right? Here's what I mean. If you want to be really valuable to people, okay, people need to be able to tell you things. Okay? They need to be able to tell you stuff. They also need to know that you're not talking. A lot of people struggle with this. I've never struggled with this. If somebody tell me something right now, right? Even if me and this person fall out, it's not going to come out. I don't play them kind of games. I don't play them kind of games. So my father taught me way in which you can make yourself really valuable to your group is you can be good counsel and you keep your mouth shut. I don't mean people coming and telling you illegal stuff. I don't mean people coming and telling you, you know, I'm cheating on my wife, I'm cheating on her. I don't mean that because again, my father taught me you have to have a certain standard where people don't bring certain stuff to you. That's a whole nother conversation, right? I don't bring everything to my father because my father don't deal with everything. So I don't present certain stuff to my father because he don't deal with everything, right? A lot of y'all deal with everything. You got, you know, itching ears and you got curious eyes. You trying to get in everything. My father don't deal with everything. He taught me that as a young age. You don't deal with everything. Certain stuff, you don't even pay attention to it. Right? So I think the problem is that one, people know that you deal with everything and people know they can bring certain stuff to you. You can't bring everything to me. Don't call me on the phone telling me that you committed a crime or you thinking about committing a crime. Don't call me because you put me in the middle of a conspiracy. So don't do that if you respect me and what I got going on. So let me give an example of what I mean. And then we're going to get into this right here because they lead into each other. You remember that dude that this years ago, some of y'all going to be too young to remember this. He was on one of them little weird shows where they show you everybody in prison, which I don't understand why that's entertaining to watch a bunch of dudes locked up. And he was talking about how important booty was to him. Y'all remember that? So that he get out of jail, he done did a little time, he get out of jail. Now they put him on an interview circuit because, you know, this trend is get views and, you know, any kind of like outrageous behavior, that's good for the internet. So he interviewed with this dude a big time YouTuber. We ain't going to take nothing from him. He got a big time YouTube platform. And he's sitting on the YouTube platform explaining to this man, who's the YouTuber, about how he's sitting in jail and he see a dude and he start fantasizing about the dude butt. Now, I'm trying to figure out why this man feel like that's acceptable. He can explain his life in prison and what he's been through. I don't know why he got to go there with you. But he know he can bring that to you. See what I'm saying? You ain't created a understanding with this man. Okay, we're going to have an interview about what you did in prison, but certain stuff you ain't going to say to me, dog, because we're not going to have that kind of conversation. I'm not down to nothing that you do. It's just certain stuff I'm not going to talk about. Right? But because he feel like I can just say anything to you, that's what he bring to you. And then they on the show sniggering and he. I was like, you don't realize he tried you by even talking to you about that. Right? So that's what I'm trying to tell you is that my father got me to understand that you don't let anybody just bring anything to you, right? You don't do that. But two, you got to be good counsel, and then you got to learn how to keep your mouth shut. So I know stuff about what happened in Orlando that I never tell because it ain't to be told. But I really know a lot of stuff about the city that I'm from because people had told me all kind of stuff, and it stayed with me because I don't run my mouth about stuff, right? If you sit down and you tell me something real life, and I say, hey, this is what I think you should do, 1, 2, 3, yada, 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 you can hate me next week and be like, man, Dave is a buster. He ain't on nothing, yada, yada, yada. I ain't never going to jump on this internet and start talking about what me and you had a discussion about. I don't do that because somebody else looking at me and they trying to see how I conduct myself under pressure. That's why I don't respect couples that when they break up, they start telling each other business. I don't like that. I'm glad I'll be saying to myself, I'm glad I never talked to that girl because I don't respect that. Right? When you fall out and now we're going to jump on the internet and we're going to try to tell what this happened 20 years. I don't like that. Right? I don't like that at all. But that's what people do. So he got me to understand you can add a lot of value to your group if you can give good counsel to people and you can keep your mouth shut. And a lot of people struggle keeping their mouth shut. As soon as somebody tell them something and that person leave, they jump on their phone to tell somebody else. They can't help themselves. They struggle to keep their mouth shut. Right? So that's what I want people to understand. He got me to really understand because he worked in a profession where people had to tell him stuff and he couldn't run and tell it. Right? He had to say, hey, it is what it is. We're going to work through it. But he couldn't run and start telling people business. Right? Because he didn't even like cloud servers when they came out. He still don't like them because he said they're not secure. He come out of old school physical where you lock stuff up. You lock up files. You have them locked up. So we remember back in the day, used to say the alien files was locked up somewhere, right? That's the era he come out of, where stuff is physical and you lock it up. He don't like cloud servers because his attitude is that if somebody hit the server, they got all the information, right? So he got me to really understand, be good counsel, keep your mouth shut. Okay, let's keep going, right? Because we already at an hour. Next one, he got me to understand that you're special. You're a special person. And most people will struggle accepting that because of how you present. I'm taller than most people. I'm bigger than most people. Most people, until they really get to know me, they will just file me away as that you just a dumb ex-athlete. That's how they going to see me. When I was younger, they would file me away as that you just a dumb athlete. That's how they would see me. Right? Once people really get to know me and they realize it's more to me than that, they struggle because why? They don't know what box to put me in. Because I don't fit in none of their boxes. See? So they keep trying to figure out what box they're going to put me in. I don't fit in none of their boxes. So now they're going to struggle. So he taught me that years ago when I was a kid that you're special and people going to struggle accepting that because they don't know what box to put you in because they're trying to put you in these boxes that society has told them that you'll fit in, but you're not going to fit in none of them boxes. And so you have to understand how to navigate those situations because they're not going to know how to take you. Right? And so that's something I've gotten better with over time. But I understand that a lot of people, they want to put me inside a box that works for them, but don't work for me. Let's keep going. You got to stay calm when people get frantic. Don't buy into the hysteria. My father is very, very stoic. He's very stoic. That's just how he is. Some of that is in me, even though I can get more excited than him because half of me is my mother who can get real excited, right? She's from the south side of Chicago. She'll turn up, right? But he taught me when everybody around you getting frantic, you got to stay calm. Don't buy into the hysteria. And that's helped me out a lot because I realize that we have environments now where they will try to create hysteria in the population so people can get frantic so they can make a bad decision. So they don't think about what they're doing before they're doing. And he taught me, you got to stay calm so you can make good decisions. Let me give an example of what I'm talking about. Some of y'all may not have seen this movie. It's a really good movie called Prisoners, right? Came out over a decade ago. It didn't blow up. Got a star-studded cast in it. Dude that played Wolverine, Glendon Hall dude, who a really good actor, even though he's not really hyped like that. Terrence Howard in it, even Viola Davis in it. Star-studded cast didn't blow up, right? This is a really, really good example of a man that was made to be frantic because of the people that was around him, and it didn't benefit him. I'm going to tell you the story. I don't do no spoiler alerts. You want to watch the movie, go watch the movie. If a movie good, I can tell you the whole script is still good. Okay, so Hugh Jackman is a father, got a whole family, right? Terrence Howard, he got a family, right? So the daughters of these two men, they get kidnapped, right? They get kidnapped. So they looking for the girls, okay? Hugh Jackman, his role is he was a construction guy. He did remodeling, like blue-collar guy. He was a prepper. He kind of really valued himself as being prepared, taking care of his family, yada, 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 right? Got 2 kids, doing his thing out there. They in Pennsylvania. So, you know, they looking for the girls, and he letting these things invade his thoughts because he's saying to himself, if we don't catch them by so many days, it's the likelihood of us ever getting them back is going to be slim to zero. So he putting pressure on the police, man, where my daughter's at, yada, yada, yada. Things ain't turning his way. So what happened is he get with his wife, and she having a nervous breakdown. And then she start putting pressure on him as a man is, how come you can't solve this problem? Because you told us you was always going to take care of us, yada, 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 this, that, and the third. So now what he do? He feel that attack. He started doubting himself as a man. He get frantic. So now here's what he do. He go Rambo. He find a dude that he think got something to do with it. He kidnapped the man, right? He kidnapped this dude, lock him up in a house somewhere, start torturing the man. They try to get information out of the dude. Now, this ain't what you do. If you don't know how to torture people to get information out of them, you just torturing a person. You got to know what you're doing when you torture somebody, because you just get tortured a person, but you don't know how to get information out of them as a result of torture. It like just look like that in the movies. So we torturing the man to get information out the man, right? The man never give him no information because a man don't have information to give you, right? But he thinking this is what I need to do because his wife, and then she got into his son head. They attacking him, telling him, well, how come you ain't solved this problem? The dude not a homicide detective. He's not a kidnapping detective. He's a blue-collar worker. But he got frantic because why? The people around him got frantic. So now you start making moves on your own. So let me tell you the movie. So they find the daughter, who's the black girl of Terrence Howard and Viola Davis. She pop up, right? He get a clue that his daughter was at the same place that the other daughter was at. So he show up to try to get the girl. Now, he don't call the police. Say, hey, I think the other. He show up on his own because he finna do it on his own now because his wife done got inside his head, right? She done got his son to turn against him. So now he thinking they look at me less than because I can't solve this problem. So he show up, right? Not knowing what he dealing with. He find out these people are some Satan worshipers, bro. They've been kidnapping kids. They Satan worshipers. So the end of the movie, he end up inside a ditch, buried alive, because he tried to negotiate with this lady to get his daughter back. And I'm saying, bro, you ain't never go get your daughter back. These people have no intent of ever getting, they're going to kill you because that's what they into. They kill us. These are Satan worshipers. And the lady told him he was a Satan worshiper, right? But he got triggered to do that because why? He got frantic. It's a great example. People going to see all the other stuff. They're not going to see the relationship dynamic. He didn't do that till his wife came at him. And she came at him and made him feel like, well, you're not doing enough to find out where our daughter. How he supposed to find out where she at? That's not what he does for a living. He got to have confidence in the police. So you got to realize that as a man, when everybody else is frantic, you got to stay calm. I don't buy into a lot of this stuff people say because why? When I look at it, it don't add up to a lot. So I don't buy into it, right? I don't. I buy into certain stuff, but a lot of stuff I don't buy into. I don't buy into the alternative stuff. I don't believe that you could take ivermectin and it can solve diseases. I don't believe that because there's no clinical studies to show that, right? I don't believe that. I don't believe half this stuff these people tell me, right? Because I know they just saying stuff. So my father taught me, don't get frantic when everybody else gets frantic. Stay calm and think your way through the situation. because this movie is a great example. Because let me explain something to you. Even if he don't die in that home, he don't get buried alive, he going to jail for 25, 30 years because kidnapping is a federal offense. He straight kidnapped somebody. Then you torturing the man. So you ain't just kidnap and put him in the house. You kidnapped and tortured the man. Even if they found your daughter, you ain't going to see her no more because you going to jail, homie. For that stuff right there. And then if I was Terrence Howard, me and him would have fought because, again, we talked about you don't let people bring certain information to you. You don't commit a crime and I don't know about it, and then you put me in the crime. You don't do that. We not in the gang, homie. We not in the crew. You don't do that. So if I was Terrence Howard, but me and him would have we'd have had to go at it behind that, because now you don't put me in a conspiracy. So if I don't go and tell the police what you did, I could get caught up in this with you. Yeah, we can't have that. Let me get back to it though. But that's a good movie. Everybody check it out. It's a psychological movie. It's not a horror movie. Psychological. And I'm gonna sidetrack this real quick. I was talking about this with Miss Williams about 2 years ago now. In the middle of our country, there's a lot of disappearance of girls, right? I don't go into this on my channel because I don't have this type of channel. But in the middle of our country, there's a lot of disappearance of girls, especially a lot of Native girls, but a lot of girls, period. They being kidnapped by Satan worshipers. It's weird to me that all these faith-based people talking about Leviathan spirits and marine spirits, even though you don't live clear no water, right? And all this spiritual warfare, but you ain't talking about in the middle of our country, all these Anglo-Satan worshipers that are kidnapping girls and dismembering girls and cutting girls into different pieces and putting them in different parts of the land for these rituals. They leave that out. But they gonna sit around and talk to me about some Leviathan spirit. Man, I ain't gonna entertain this stuff. But it's real. This stuff goes on. There's another movie they made about it with the dude that shoot the bow and arrows in the Marvel universe. He was in another movie about the same subject. It's real. It's really going on out here. But we ain't gonna get it. I don't want to sidetrack the presentation. Don't let people incite you to act out. They already got a low impression of you. So I learned this working in corporate, right? People will say little stuff to you, and their goal is to incite you. Their goal is to get you to act out, right? And so my father taught me is you can't fall into that, right? You can't let these people incite you and they say little stuff to you and they get you to just lose your composure. You can't do that. Because if they know they can push that button on you, they're going to push it on you every time. And then you'll play yourself out of your situation because they know all they got to do is say 1, 2, 3 to you and you'll lose it. So if you may have to leave that environment, but you can't let people. I see a lot of times people do this with police, right? They get into an encounter with police to let the cop incite them. Can't do that, right? You can't do that. I've had cops try to do that to me. I don't even pay no attention to it, right? I don't even entertain it. Do what you do and let's keep it pushing. Because I'm not going to let you take this situation. It's real, real small, and you turn it something big because that's what you're trying to do from the gate, and it mess my whole situation up. It's not going to happen. Right? So you saw with Kugler in that bank, he didn't let none of them people incite him because that's what they tried to do. Because the moment he get out of character, now they got a justification because they already had their mind made up they were going to allow him. He just didn't get out of character to really support the lie that they was telling because they already had their mind made up they was going to allow that man. Right? He never let those people incite him because we saw they already had a low impression of him from the gate. The moment he walked in that bank, they thought a certain type of way about him. So that's something he taught me a long time ago. It don't mean that you can't defend yourself. It don't mean you can't stand up for yourself. But don't let people incite you to do stuff, right? Let's keep going. Being black is nothing to be ashamed of. We talked about. We are a group of people that call ourselves black, right? But we hate black, right? So we call ourselves black, but we hate black. We even hate black skin. Right? Black people hate black skin by calling it, but they still call themselves black. So he taught me like being black is nothing to be ashamed of. Right? It's not something that you should be ashamed of because you black. Don't let people make you feel ashamed of that stuff. Okay? Keep going. You have to stand for something even when people don't agree with you. A lot of people don't agree with my message. That's cool. I'm still going to push it because I know it's real. I see it in economic data all the time. So he got me to realize you got to stand for something even if people don't necessarily agree with you. And that really got to be what you're standing on. If you notice, I didn't come out and say I'm about free markets in 1 year. Then the next year I come out and I'm doing everything is about race. And then the next year I come out and everything is about like celebrity conspiracy theories. Like this person don't stand for nothing except their own pockets, which is cool. They're an entertainer, right? But if you notice, I didn't switch it up every 2 years. I had a consistent message. I ain't saying that a person can't talk about different stuff. What I'm saying is that there should be a through message through all your messages. It'd be something consistent about what you're saying. I didn't come out and say it's about free markets and I'm a free market advocate. And then everything now is about race, right? And BLM and how bad they are. And then now everything's about celebrities and celebrity conspiracy stories. Like this is a person that's just trying to figure out how to make money off the internet. So I realized, okay, I got to stand for something. Even if people don't agree with me, which a lot of people don't, that's cool. But I still got to stand for something. So people know that I stand for these particular principles. That's what I'm standing on. They deal with me on that particular level. It's not every day I wake up, I'm doing something different. Or what the trend is, because like I said, we in the world now, what all kind of stuff is going on. And you're supposed to figure out how to adjust to it instead of saying, I stand for these particular things, even if people don't necessarily agree with me. Okay, let's keep going. Your health is important, right? Something my father taught me. My father was not big into organized sports, but he always worked out. He always exercised. He always watched what he ate, right? And as he got more knowledgeable about certain health issues, he always adjusted his behavior as he got more knowledgeable information. So I think it's really, really important because I think a lot of people raised in households where they don't take health important, and it impacts their family. My father never smoked a drink a day in his life. He don't even know what alcohol tastes like, right? He don't know what cigarettes taste like. He don't know what weed tastes like. He just never was into that type of stuff. So he always took his health important, right? And so he really got me to do that. So even though I may not have been as disciplined as him, I'm way more disciplined than the average person because why? He got me to understand how important my health is. And exercising, taking walks, eating the right food, getting your doctor's checkups, doing all those things is really, really important. Okay, let's keep going. Leadership is hard because the people you love will get upset at you. So when you go into a leadership position, even the people you love can sometimes get upset at you. It don't matter. You think I've never been upset at my father growing up? I didn't like some of the stuff he did. I didn't get upset. It didn't matter. He was in a leadership position. He got to be able to deal with that and keep going. Now, because I'm a child, I can't destroy his life, right? But sometimes people are worried that like, I'm in a leadership position. This person don't like what I'm doing. They might try to destroy my life because they just that mad at me. But leadership can be hard because the people you love that you're leading, they get upset at you. And they can say things to you that hurt your feelings. And you got to manage that and keep leading because why are you in a leadership position? That's what comes with being a leader, right? Because often people will find out over time that you was correct. It's just at that moment they didn't get it, right? And that's just something you got to deal with. It comes with being a leader. Let's keep going. Let your light shine. So again, what I'm doing right now is positive. I wasn't always a positive person. Like I told you, that lady that came to me in the grocery store, there was a time where I just would have said that to her. I asked her straight, like, why are you talking to me? I used to be a very negative person about a lot of stuff. I've learned to be a lot more positive and let my light shine, even if other people are negative. I don't get caught up in what they got going on. So you could say certain stuff to me and it's whatever. I'm not finna get into that because I'm going to let my light shine. So that's something he always tried to give me to understand. Everybody got a good part of them. If they really focus on that, they could be a blessing to a lot of people and they just leave the negativity alone. Right? But it's so easy to get caught up in the negativity, but leave a lot of that stuff alone. And you'll build out a reputation and a standard over time, right? Of letting your light shine in different situations that you could be a blessing to other people. And those blessings going to come back to you, right? And you're talking to somebody who used to be in a lot of negativity. I had a very negative attitude about a lot of stuff. And eventually that stuff will collapse on you, right? And you got to realize that. So that's why I tell everybody, just play it straight, live a square lifestyle, do things the right way the first time so you ain't got to go through certain stuff. So that's going to be it. Want to tell all the fathers, man, we appreciate you, right? We appreciate everything that you're doing. You're very, very valuable. We do not have a world without fathers. Don't let nobody fool you, right? Don't let nobody fool you. We do not have a world without fathers. We do not have a world without men doing what needs to be done. Don't let these people fool you on this internet. While they go out on roads and take planes and be in airports built and supported by men. Don't let these people fool you, right? We're not trying to take another away from women, but we don't need to build up women by trying to take away from men. We don't need to do that. Okay? So all the fathers, you're really, really important. You're really valuable. We're going to read these super chats. And if it's any men that's fathers that want to get on, they want to talk about how fatherhood is important to them, talk about how their father was important in their life, they could come through. Anything other than that, we ain't trying to do it. Because again, we here to boost up fathers, let them know how important they is. They don't get a lot of attention, but they doing all this work out here in their local area on a national level, yada, 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 right? So we're going to get in that. We're going to get up on out of here. And I appreciate everybody for staying through. This has been a long stream. So that's pinned in the chat. Let me get rid of that. So anybody want to come through, talk about how fatherhood is important in their life, what they appreciate about it, what they respect about it, or how their father has been important in their life, come through. Anything outside of that, yeah, we're not trying to deal with it. Pascal, man, appreciate the $4.99. Terrence, man, appreciate the $4.99. Ray Gun, man, what's up with it? Appreciate the $2. Miss Phoenix, man, happy Father's Day. Appreciate it, Miss Phoenix. Happy Father's Day to the men in your life. Tell them I say happy Father's Day. Appreciate you coming through. Drop 16, man, happy Father's Day. Appreciate the $20 super chat. LP, man, gifted 10 memberships. LP, man, I really, really appreciate it. Miss Erica Williams, Classic Clown, Smartphone Money. Here's to get you some motion and respect, Joe. I feel you. You got to get some motion. If you get active, be surprised what come up, right? You'd be surprised because you're doing stuff, right? We says the VIP course that we have access to the conference call for light. At what frequency do we have the conference call? Conference call is every 2 weeks. You do as long as I keep doing it. So I've been doing it since 2022. So we're going now on almost 3 years, right? Really, I think we are at 3 years. I think I started in spring of 2022. So you have access to the conference call as long as I keep doing it. I don't have any plans currently to stop doing it. Like, in fact, we got one on Monday. So that's the access, right? So you continue to have access in that particular area. Been doing it for over 3 years. I'm sorry. Been doing it for about 3 years now, right? So that's the access you got. So if you got any other questions, Mr. Weeks, let me know. Appreciate your question. So Terrence says, thank you for the stream. Happy Father's Day to the men in the chat. Yeah, big up to everybody. Miss Erica says, Mormons tossing a lot of boys in the middle know what they list to follow. I feel you. I feel you. So Miss Erica says, it's tough when in relationships you feel like the other person have a sense of urgency. It irritates you, but you need to balance. I agree, Miss Erica. I think people do need to have a sense of urgency. I wouldn't encourage anybody to be with somebody that doesn't have any motivation. They definitely don't have any ambition. But it does need to be balanced because I think sometimes in relationships, and I'm not talking about you, but I think sometimes people can feel differently about an issue and maybe feel like the other person doesn't have the same sense of urgency about that particular issue, but it just could be they don't feel the same way about it, right? But one thing about me, Erica, is I like to try to stay calm because I feel like if I'm calm, I make better decisions than if I start getting excited about stuff, right? Because like as a trader, I got to stay calm because the market throws a lot of false signals at people. And if I get caught up in it, it'll cost me money. But I agree with you. I do think it needs a balance. And I think people need to make sure that they have a similar perspective on the world that they want to go act out. But I agree with you. So Andy Lee says, there's always a person in your house who's passion, safety barriers that get you, spouse, child, family, friend, don't matter. I feel you. So Donald Watts say, people thinking you're done because of what you've done is so real. When I left the army, went to college, people would thank me for my service, but devalue my opinion if it went against theirs. I feel you. Big up to Donald Watts. Yeah, Glenn Hall was really good in that movie. I don't know why he don't get more roles, but he probably don't like the scripts they send to him. So, but he was really, really good in that movie. That's a really good movie with a really good cast. Not sure why I didn't do bigger than what it did, because with that level of actors and actresses in the cast, I would think that it would get a little bit more run. right? But it's a really good movie. And it's about real life situations. That stuff's going on like for real. That's what that sister in Milwaukee got caught up in. She got caught up in that. It's a deep situation, like it's real deep, and they'll cover the incident, but won't talk about behind that is these people are Satan worshipers. Like they are, like legit. And so part of what they do is that's part of their rituals. You know, it's dismembering people, bleeding people. It's like it's some wild stuff. Old folks call it a leaky bullet. Yeah. I mean, you got some people to where they kind of, I would say, like their thing is they know the latest information on people. And they're kind of like a hub for that. But I wouldn't tell nobody that does that type of stuff anything, because they're gonna tell it. Like I've known people that if you tell them something, they're gonna tell somebody else. So many Facebook groups of people sign 18% car loans, then surprised they've been paying on loans for 3 years and the bill's still high. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel you on that. They don't understand points. 18% is high too. That's high. That's not the state level. That's not the state limit though, right? It's high though. Good Lord. So Dr. Chaz, big up to Dr. Chaz. Says at the pharmacy school, reading became less enjoyable, but I still read more than most. I feel you. Yeah, I guarantee you probably read more than most. If you're in the markets, I know you're reading more than the average person. So Dr. Chaz says I did all the reading competitions during the summer for free stuff and made reading fun. Yeah, I remember we used to have book fairs when I was in elementary school. I don't know if they still do that anymore. But we used to have book fairs, right? Then Pizza Hut used to give you a pizza if you read so many books. No, I know for a fact they don't do that no more. So there was a lot of incentivizing. Then the NBA, when I was a little older, had a program where the athletes would go to schools and read. They had like a reading program. I know they don't do that anymore either. So I think a lot of attention on reading has just been kind of taken off the board. Miss Erica says, I play soccer, ran track with women who are the fastest, but boys can pass right by us. Men, boys are 1,000 times stronger than me. Yeah, definitely. Especially, Erica, as boys and girls get older, the disparity in strength starts to get wider and wider and wider and wider, right? Because we all know that once boys hit puberty, they start producing a lot of testosterone, right? So just the strength differences, the explosion, it's just going to be way different, right? So I think everybody should have their space, but I'm just not a fan of, because I'm a big fan of women's sports, I'm not a fan of somebody that has been a biological male X amount of years of their life, and then now they're saying, okay, I'm a woman now, and now I want to go compete in women's sports. I don't know. And what I really believe, and I don't want to sidetrack the conversation, is that if this becomes widespread, it will destroy women's sports, but you see that the opposite is not trying to come into men's sports, right? So I just think it's not a good look for women's sports, and I'm a big proponent of women's sports. So I think they just got to figure out how to give people their own space so they're not doing that, because it's really not fair. As old as I am, if you put me in women's swimming, I'm a swimmer. If you put me in like women's high school, definitely, and college, low-level women's college swimming, I would kill them. Because why? I'm stronger than them. So they just would not be able to generate it. I'm way older than them too. But it's just the strength level is totally different. Right? It's just a real big difference in strength, explosion also than men and women. It's night and day. And we're not taking none away from women's athletes. We're not doing that, but it's a big, big difference. You know, it's a big difference. Well, what's her name, man? The GOAT, Clarissa. Clarissa beat up a lot of regular dudes, but she couldn't really compete with most male boxers in her same division. She'll beat up the regular dude on the street because he can't fight. But a boxer in her division, she'd struggle with that. She struggled. But any woman you put in front of her, she'll run straight through them. Like, that's just a fact. Dr. Chad says respect is really important. Most definitely. Yeah, I think everybody should respect everybody else. So Terrence says plantation politics is real. I refuse to be part of that conversation. My father instilled mental toughness that assisted me during tough periods of life. I feel you. Yeah, it's going to get tough. And you got to just work through it. So Ray Gunn says, girls, drugs, entertainment is an opiate for many dudes 16 to 70. Most definitely. They spend their whole life doing that, bro. Yeah, Dr. Chaz, I can tell you really close to your father. So big up to your father and your grandfather. You know what I'm saying? Big up to your family too. Yeah, I can tell you really close to your father because you've spoken about it multiple times. You're close to your whole family, but I can tell you really close to your father. And that's a good thing. Because Dr. Chaz, I think you really being close to your father, it allows you to communicate with men differently because of that relationship with your father. Right? Because me and you ain't never had no friction. And a lot of people, Dr. Chaz, don't like me. They don't like how I talk, yada, yada. Me and you never had no friction. I always respected you. You always respected me. And we started off like that. Right? So that's what I'm saying is I think you having such a close relationship with your father, it allows you to see men differently where you don't necessarily sometimes come in the gate with a negative perception. Because like I said, I've been talking to you for years. Me and you ain't never had a misunderstanding about nothing. It's always been a respect thing. I respect you, you respect me. We keep it like that. But I just think it's your exposure to certain situations where you have a better understanding about certain things and you know better kind of how I really believe that you know how to deal with men better. Same thing for Miss Williams. I really believe that y'all know how to deal with men better than a lot of people because y'all spent time around men in y'all family and y'all know how to function like that. I really believe that. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know y'all life, but me and you have never had a misunderstanding about nothing. It's always been a respect thing. Right? Because I don't look to disrespect nobody. And Dr. Chaz don't look to disrespect nobody. Because I told her, if somebody tell me something negative about Dr. Chaz, I know they lying because she is never nothing negative coming from her. Like I be saying some crazy stuff sometimes. She don't do that. I do that. She don't do that. Right? She's very respectful. Right? Definitely. Pizza Hut in the library. Most definitely. Big up to those personal paying pieces. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. How you feel?
I'm doing wonderful by God's permission.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to wish you and the audience and all of us who are blessed to have their fathers in our lives and husbands in our lives. It's a wonderful, wonderful Father's Day. And to remember that Father's Day is every day. It's not just that one particular day in June every year.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you for speaking on this topic that could be spoken on every week because our men do not get praised enough.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I really appreciate you coming through. And so again, thanks to all the fathers. Thanks for all your support with the channel. I really, really appreciate this over the time of your consistency. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Stay blessed.
Yes, ma'am. Take it easy. Be safe.
You too, sir. Bye-bye.
All right. So big up to Miss Phoenix 91. Appreciate her coming through with the shout out. Yeah, NBA Reeves was big, bro. I don't know why they stopped it. But these NBA players now they a little different. So that's probably why. I really think some of them can't read. Just to be real with you. The way they raising these kids in sports now, I think half these kids can't read, bro, to be real with you. But I wish they would have kept that program going, but maybe they don't have the ability to. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I remember that. That was real big. Erica Williams says it builds self-esteem of young girls, keep them occupied. Yeah, definitely. But I think that health and fitness is important across the board. We should not take girls and say, well, because you're a girl, health and fitness is no longer important. It's still important, right? And if they want to play, they should have a right to play. I'm 100% believer they need to play. If they want to play, they need a right to play, right? Because this is something that I wish happened because we don't have enough. And we're going to go sidetrack it real quick. I was talking about this with Dr. Chaz because I love basketball, right? And so I was saying that what I believe is hurting the game of basketball is we don't get our best female athletes play basketball. They playing soccer and they playing volleyball. If we took volleyball athletes and put them in basketball, it'd be a whole different game. But some of the best female athletes is playing volleyball. They're not playing basketball. women don't get enough opportunities, in my opinion, because one, socialization, but also because we don't have enough women playing sports where they just play sports for fun, right? Everything is super organized and they just really need to play sports just for fun. I got a nephew, he like 22. They just go play basketball all the time. It's rare to see women doing that. And so I think women's sports have come up a lot more, especially in basketball, if they just play just to have fun. But it's hard to find enough women to really do that. And again, as boys and girls get older, it's harder for women to kind of operate in some of those environments of boys because they're going to be a lot bigger, stronger, and a lot faster. But your girls just need to play, right? They just need to have fun environments where they just can play, get their sports off, do their thing, because it's good for their health. Again, it is good for their self-esteem. It does keep them occupied. It keep them out of trouble. It can keep them away from a bunch of boys because they got stuff to do, right? So if they got sports, they ain't got time to be caught up with a bunch of dudes. Now, I think, though, Erica, we're going to get more into it because we see the money in the game now. They don't brought so much money in women's sports now with this NIL and these collectives. I think women are going to realize, okay, it's some money over there because these girls getting paid. That one chick did gymnastics for LSU. I don't even know where she at right now, man. She got a bag. Them, what do you call it? Callender or Cavenger twins are playing for Think they still out there. They got a bag. Like, these girls getting bags out here, getting big money. You know what I'm saying? So I'm liking that because it's going to get more men because they realize I could come over here, get my money, have something going for myself, and I can get supported. And so I think it's a good deal. But yeah, we got to make sure that girls have the ability to play, right? And we can't let people come in and mess up their environment with whatever they else got going on. Give them people their own space, let them do their thing. But yeah, we got to let these girls play, man, because they have a right to play. And because I'm pro sports, right? Everybody need to play sports, exercise, be active, stop sitting on their butt playing video games, talking on these phones, being on these little pads, man. It ain't good for people. People got to be active. When I was a kid, man, we was doing everything. It wasn't nothing. I'm from Florida, man. We did everything. We was swimming, running, playing sports. We did everything, man. It was just too much to do. These kids today, man, they be in the house too much. They come outside, running track instead of b-ball. Yeah, I feel you. But see, Ray Gun, with the track girls, they kind of tiny. They like 5'4", 5'6". We take Ray Gun, bro. We take Texas volleyball, Penn State volleyball, SC volleyball, maybe Nebraska volleyball. Let me see. Few more volleyballs. And we put them in on they basketball team. We got a whole different team. You take Texas volleyball and you put them on Texas women already got a cold basketball team. You put them on the basketball team, man, it's a whole different type of team, bro. But they got to know how to play. But it's a different team. But if you see, I know Jermaine O'Neal used to play for Indiana. His daughter played volleyball. She didn't play basketball for Texas. She played volleyball. So again, now she got the athletic genes and she got the height. I think she's like 6'5", but she over there playing volleyball. So we got a lot of our best athletes not on the basketball court. They just in different sports, also in soccer. So I feel you on that track. I just don't know if they got the height because a lot of them track girls be short. They be like 5'2", 5'3". Sha'Kari's tiny. She's like a very petite, small person. You know what I'm saying? But them tall women, I remember years ago, Texas played, I believe it was Penn State in the NCAA championship. Man, them girls were like 6'5", 6'6". The whole front line was like 6'5", 6'6". That's really tall to be a woman. Like that's tall to be a man. That's really tall. Like a 6'5", 6'6" woman is like a 6'10", 6'11" man. That's like really tall. Texas had like 6 of those women. They all tall and they jumping too. I say, man, this is crazy. Like this is insane. They got women that tall. Those dads gonna have those girls out there, especially softball. Softball too. Yeah. And you, like I said, men is holding up a lot of these sports leagues, especially on the lower levels where it's volunteer, right? Where you're not getting paid to do it. It's men that want to make sure these girls play sports. Texas Tech pitcher get $1 million a year. Yeah, she deserve it too. Get that money. Because Ray Gun, there's not a lot of opportunities after she get done playing to make money. So she got to get it while she can get it. She deserve it. She filling them seats up. She deserve it. You know what I'm saying? And it's some really prominent women's softball teams. LSU, I think SC might have a good team. I'm not really big on the softball like that, but it's some really prominent women's softball teams. They deserve the money, get money. They putting people in the stands that deserve to get money. They can sell, get endorsements. They deserve the money. Everybody deserves to get paid. They be putting that stuff on TV, man, be selling big advertising slots for it. Everybody deserves to get paid off that stuff. 1 million to the girl that played, 1 million to that black girl in Texas that picked up another UCLA white girl with $300K. You're big up to Texas Tech. They spending their money. Right? I know Texas is gonna get in the mix like that because Texas don't like nobody out. I mean, Texas University Tech, they don't like to see people out spending them. So I know they're gonna get into the mix because they sure got the money to burn. Dr. Chaz say women with present fathers are definitely different. Yeah, 100%. I've seen that over the course of my life, Dr. Chaz, is that women that are raised with their fathers, they because they're used to being around men and they know that men do act differently than women. And it's not nothing negative. It's just we're different. Right? My attitude is different than a woman's, right? It just is. It is not a negative. We're just different. And, the woman's attitude going to be different than mine sometimes. It's not a negative. It's just we're different. I think sometimes, Dr. Chaz, that lack of exposure throws people off, right? So I agree with you 100%. I've seen that with my siblings too, because they was raised around my father and my grandfathers. Yeah, his daughter was cold at volleyball, but she didn't play hoops, but she was like 6'5". Right? Yeah, women's volleyball players are super. Yeah, them 6 are tall, bro. Like they tall. Texas has 11 girls over 6 where we go next year. I feel you. Yeah, I remember that one year they played, I think it was Penn State. Penn State, like the Midwest teams are real good in volleyball too. They had some tall women, bro. I remember I was at college and I seen my women's volleyball team, right? And I was just in a little state school in Florida and they was like 6'3", 6'4". I'm telling you, it's not common to see women that tall. Like for a woman to get over 6 foot tall is rare. It's even like people think it's rare for a man to get over 6 foot. It's extremely rare for a woman to get over 6 foot tall. Like that is very, very rare. So what we're seeing in basketball, not just to Erica, but to the whole audience, is we really don't have enough height in women's basketball, right? Because the sister that plays for the Aces out there in Vegas, she cold, but she ain't but 6'5". If we put more 6'5" people out there, she ain't gonna do what she do. She ain't gonna do that. It's not enough people out there to where she worried about every time she step on that court, she dealing with that height. So she just dominating. We ain't taking nothing away from her game, but it's not enough tall, athletic women in basketball. They in volleyball, right? Because I used to know this woman that played for Florida. She was like 6'3". She was extremely athletic. She ended up playing overseas in the Philippines just for the love of the game, but she was like 6'3". She'd have been a cold basketball player, but she just played volleyball her whole life. So back in the day, Natalie Williams at UCLA was All-American in volleyball and baseball. Yeah, I feel you. You see a lot of comparisons in the two sports. Sometimes they specialize. But yeah, we need better athletes in women's basketball. The best women's athletes do not play basketball. Where in the men's side, some of the best male athletes play basketball. The best women's athletes, like Ray Gunn said, they run in track, they playing soccer, some of them playing softball, and a lot of them playing volleyball. Like a lot of them playing volleyball. You can get some of them to go to that basketball side, it'll make the game way better. Because there's too many women in basketball that's like 5'5". Like, no disrespect to them, but you too short to be out here. And until we kind of get that in basketball, where we going to start telling women, you too short to be on the court, the game ain't going to get to a certain level. Because in men's sports, if you're trying to play basketball at a certain level, they'll tell you straight out, you're too short. You're too short to be out here. You need to go D2, but you ain't going to make it on this level. Because our guards is 6'4". You ain't going to make it. Well, with women, we letting women play D1 high-level women's basketball, and they 5'3". You should be too short to be out there. You're too short to be out here on this court. You need to go to a lower level or find a different sport to play. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the issue. We haven't really gotten strict on phasing out small people out of women's basketball. In men's basketball, if you're small, you ain't going to work. You're just not going to work. It don't matter how talented you are. Small people don't work in men's basketball anymore. Them dudes are enormous. I think average height's like 6'7". Right? Ray Gunn, no guards at the D1 level, 6'4", 6'5". You a guard. You're not no big, you a guard. They got bigs playing guard. You know, it's just a different game now. Right? It's a totally different game out there now. We haven't really gotten that in women's sports yet. Yeah, they swim too. I feel you. I don't know if the swimming translates though, Pascal, because I swim a lot. I know it translates from a conditioning standpoint, but a lot of the stuff that you'll do in volleyball, it'll translate to the court. Because I could take a chick that plays volleyball that's on that front line. If you want to get the ball, I know I got a rebounder now because you're used to jumping. So it'll translate. I don't know if the swimming to translate. The conditioning will, but I don't know if the skill sets. But I could take a woman that plays on that front line in volleyball, and I know I got somebody to rebound and defend the rim. Then, you know, we can teach you how to shoot and but I know I can put you right in. You can rebound and defend the rim off the bat because you're used to jumping. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing about women in volleyball, especially based on what position they play on the volleyball court, they do a lot of exercises to learn how to get up off that ground. And some people got to be taught how to jump. Some people it's natural, but some people got to be taught how to jump properly. They teach that in women's volleyball. They teach their women how to jump because they got to learn how to jump safely. So I think that translates relatively easy to basketball. But again, we haven't put a height requirement in basketball for women the way we've done it for men. We need to tell them girls, if you ain't over a certain height, you can't play like South Carolina. If I was Don, I ain't trying to tell Don Saylor how to run a team. But if I was Don Saylor, I'd be telling him, like, you too short to play for us. Because I know a dude tried to play for my college, and they told him, like, we was in a Big East at that time. They told him, if you're not 6'4", you're not going to make it in this league. He was like a 5'9" guard. He was good, but they was like, if you're not 6'4", you're not going to make it in this league. That's when my college was in the Big East. It's like, you ain't going to make it. We're not telling women that. So it's a lot of short women in basketball. That's why I like that young girl. She played for UConn. I think now she's playing for the Connecticut team. She going to be MVP because she's 5'11", and you can't stop her. But at 5'11" at a guard, that's like a 6'6" guard of the NBA, right? She's 5'11" playing guard. You can't do nothing with her, right? Because that's like a 6'6" NBA guard. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of similar to where that Ball brother that played for Charlotte, the way he's 6'5", 6'6", and you really can't handle him. You know what I'm saying? It's just a team trash, but he could ball though. Always could play. He always was the best Ball brother because he had the perfect height to be a guard. He too tall for a small guard, and if you put somebody big on him, he gonna just go by him, and he can shoot. It's hard to play somebody like that, right? Especially once they get their confidence up. Yeah, Paige tough, bro. I low-key think she's gonna be rookie. But Ray Gun, I think in 3 to 4 years, to me personally, this is a crazy prediction. She remind me a lot of Penny. It's just they got to put the right team around her. But she remind me a lot of Penny, bro. You know what I'm saying? She got that same kind of game where she can pass, she can set people up. But she know if she just really want to get them points, she knows she could do that. That's why I didn't like when they lost to South Carolina in the finals. I say Gino just need to give her the ball in the championship game. I say Gino just need to give her the ball, let her do what she do. And she'll create something. If she don't get it for herself, she'll create something for somebody else. Trying to run them strict plays for her, that's not her game. Give her the ball, put her at the top, and let her do what she do. She going to figure something out because she cold with the ball in her hand. But, you know, Gino, he old school. They going to run the play I say run. So it is what it is. You know, he old school. But I don't like how they lost to South Carolina was guarding her with a player that was like 5'6". That should never happen. Because I'm going to tell her, take your butt down to that block. We're going to throw you the ball, and you're going to work that. You're going to work her. You're going to work her. Then when they adjust to that, we're going to bring you back up top, and then you're going to do what you're going to do. Because if they put somebody big on you, you're going to go bomb. But, you know, Gino, they doing all the back cuts and all that type of stuff. You know, that's whatever. But, yeah, Paige, I really think she's going to be rookie of the year, and I think she's going to end up being MVP of that league because she's really, really, really tough. She really tough, bro. She's 5'11", which makes her a very, very tall women player, you know, because they got a 6'5" center out there dominating. She ain't but 6'5". You know what I'm saying? So it's just the dynamics are different. But yeah, women got to people got to do their thing. And a lot of these dudes, man, they got to stop being jealous of chicks because they're good athletes. That's weak. You know what I'm saying? If you want to get better, get on the court. or go to the gym. But dudes got to stop being mad at chicks because they cold at what they doing with them sports, man. That's kind of weird to me, but everybody different. You know, you could tell who didn't have the kind of career they wanted. So we're going to get up on out of here, man. Happy Father's Day to everybody. Everybody stay safe. Everybody stay prayed up, man. Stay encouraged. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, try to figure out how you could be a blessing to somebody else, man. Talk to y'all later, man.